She said, "I should have left your boring ass months ago moving to LA for her OnlyFans fan, so I quietly moved out. He was a catfish who ruined her life, and now she won't stop crying." Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. 3 years. That's how long I thought Emma and I had something real. Looking back now, I can see the exact moment everything started falling apart, but at the time, I was too trusting to recognize the warning signs. It started innocently enough. Emma had always been beautiful, the kind of woman who turned heads when we walked into a room together. She was confident, outgoing, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her feel lighter. When she first started posting more photos on Instagram, I didn't think much of it. She'd always enjoyed taking pictures, and I figured it was just her way of expressing herself. "Look at this one," she'd say, showing me a selfie she'd taken in our bathroom mirror. "Do you think the lighting is good?" "You look beautiful," I'd tell her, and I meant it. She always did. But then the photos started changing. The angles became more suggestive, the outfits more revealing. What used to be casual snapshots of her day became carefully orchestrated shots designed to showcase her body. The comments section filled up with fire emojis and thirsty messages from men I'd never heard of. When I brought it up, Emma brushed off my concerns like I was being ridiculous. "It's just social media, babe," she said, not even looking up from her phone as she scrolled through the notifications. "You're being paranoid." "I'm not paranoid," I replied, sitting down next to her on our couch. "I just don't understand why you need validation from strangers online." She finally looked at me then, and there was something cold in her eyes that I'd never seen before. "Maybe because my boyfriend doesn't make me feel desirable anymore." The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd been working extra hours lately, trying to save up for an engagement ring, but I'd made sure to tell her she was beautiful every single day. I'd brought her flowers, planned date nights, done everything I could think of to show her how much she meant to me. "Emma, that's not fair," I said quietly. "You know how I feel about you." She rolled her eyes and went back to her phone. Whatever. That should have been my first real warning sign, but I convinced myself it was just a phase. Maybe she was feeling insecure about something, or maybe work was stressing her out. I tried to be more attentive, more complimentary, more present. But instead of appreciating my efforts, Emma seemed to grow more distant. The Instagram posts became more frequent and more provocative. She started responding to comments from her male followers, having conversations in her DMs that she'd quickly minimize whenever I walked by. When I asked about it, she'd accuse me of being controlling or jealous. "You don't own me," she'd snap. "I can talk to whoever I want." "I never said I owned you," I'd reply. "I just think it's weird that you're having private conversations with men who are clearly hitting on you." "Oh, please," she'd laugh, but it wasn't her usual warm laugh. It was sharp and dismissive. "Like you even care. When's the last time you looked at me the way these men do?" I stared at her, confused and hurt. "I look at you like that every day. I'm your boyfriend." I thought that mattered. Well, maybe I need more than a boring boyfriend who plays it safe. The word boring stung more than I expected. I'd always prided myself on being dependable, on being the kind of man who showed up when he said he would and kept his promises. I didn't realize that in Emma's mind, those qualities had become liabilities. Things got worse over the next few weeks. Emma started going out more without me, claiming she needed space and time with her girlfriends. She'd come home late smelling like alcohol and other men's cologne, her phone buzzing constantly with notifications she'd hide from me. Then came the night I found out about the OnlyFans. I wasn't snooping. Emma had asked me to grab her laptop to show me something, and when I opened it, her browser was still logged into her account. The screen showed her profile page, complete with provocative photos I'd never seen before and a subscriber count that made my stomach drop. When she came back into the room, she found me staring at the screen. "Emma," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "What is this? OnlyFans? When did you?" She didn't even have the decency to look embarrassed. Instead, she crossed her arms and lifted her chin defiantly. "Oh, please, like you even care," she said, echoing her earlier words. "When's the last time you made me feel wanted? When's the last time you made me feel like I was worth something?" "I tell you you're beautiful every day," I said, standing up from the couch. "I work extra hours to save money for our future. I'm here for you whenever you need me. How is that not caring?" She laughed, and the sound was cruel. "You work extra hours at your boring office job and come home exhausted. You save money instead of spending it on me. You're here, but you're not really here. These men online, they see me. They appreciate me. They make me feel alive. I'm your boyfriend, I said, and I hated how desperate I sounded. I thought that mattered. Well, maybe I need more than a boring boyfriend who's afraid to take risks. That's when she told me about Derek. There's this guy, she said, and for the first time in weeks, her face lit up with genuine excitement. He's been my top subscriber for months. We've been talking, and he's nothing like you. He's adventurous, he's successful, he knows how to treat a woman. I felt like the ground was shifting under my feet. You've been talking to him? Every day, she said, and there was a cruel satisfaction in her voice. He's flying me out to LA next week. He has a penthouse and actually knows how to make a woman feel special. So what are you saying? I asked, even though I already knew. I'm saying I'm done settling, she said. Derek appreciates me. He sees my worth. He's not afraid to spend money on me or show me off. He's everything you're not. I stood there in our living room, surrounded by 3 years of shared memories, and felt something inside me break. Not my heart, exactly, but something deeper. My faith in the person I thought I knew. If that's what you want, I said quietly, then I hope you'll be happy. She looked at me like I'd spoken in a foreign language. That's it. You're not even going to fight for me. You've made your choice clear. God, you're even more pathetic than I thought, she said, shaking her head. You're too boring for someone like me anyway. I should have done this months ago. I helped her pack. I know that sounds crazy, but I actually helped her pack her things to leave me for another man. She kept looking at me strangely, like she was waiting for me to break down, to beg her to stay, to promise I'd change. But I didn't. I folded her clothes carefully, wrapped her picture frames in bubble wrap, and loaded her boxes into her car. You're really just going to let me go? She asked as she put the last box in her trunk. I'm not letting you do anything, I said. You're choosing to go. She stared at me for a long moment, and I thought I saw something like regret flash across her face. But then she got in her car and drove away. I spent that night in our apartment, surrounded by the empty spaces where her things used to be. I didn't cry. I didn't call her. I didn't post anything on social media about what had happened. I just sat there, trying to process the fact that the woman I'd planned to marry had just told me I wasn't good enough for her. The next morning, I started making changes. I gave my landlord notice, found a new apartment across town, and started the process of completely removing myself from Emma's life. I blocked her number, blocked her on all social media, and deleted most of my own accounts. When our mutual friends asked what happened, I just said we'd grown apart and left it at that. I didn't badmouth her. I didn't tell anyone about the OnlyFans or Derek or the cruel things she'd said. I just disappeared. For the first few weeks, I threw myself into work and into rebuilding my life. I started going to the gym again, something I'd let slide during the final months of our relationship. I reconnected with old friends Emma had never liked. I took up hobbies I'd abandoned. Slowly, I started to remember who I was before Emma had made me feel like I wasn't enough. It was about 2 months later when I started hearing things through mutual friends. At first, it was just casual mentions that Emma was living in LA now, that she seemed happy. But then the stories started getting stranger. My friend Jake was the first to bring it up directly. Hey, have you heard from Emma lately? He asked during one of our gym sessions. No, I said, and I meant it. Why? She's been asking people for your number. Says she needs to talk to you about something important. I kept lifting weights, not breaking my rhythm. Did you give it to her? Hell no, Jake said. But she seemed pretty desperate. Said it was an emergency. I didn't respond, and Jake got the hint. But over the next few weeks, more friends mentioned similar conversations. Emma was reaching out to anyone who might have my contact information, claiming she needed to reach me urgently. Then came the fake social media accounts. Since I deleted most of my profiles, I didn't see them directly, but friends started forwarding me screenshots. Someone with a clearly fake name and no profile picture was commenting on my old posts, sending friend requests to people I knew, trying to get information about where I was living now. It was pathetic, but I still didn't engage. I learned my lesson about giving Emma attention when she demanded it. The truth came out about 3 months after she'd left. Jake called me on a Saturday morning, his voice a mixture of shock and vindication. Dude, you need to hear this, he said. Emma's back in town. Okay, I said, genuinely unbothered. No, you don't understand. She's back because Derek wasn't real. That got my attention. What do you mean? I mean he was a catfish. Some scammer using stolen photos. Emma flew out to LA, and when she got to the address he'd given her, it was some random apartment building. Turns out the guy had been using fake pictures, and had convinced her to send him money for months. When she got there, he ghosted her completely. I felt something that might have been satisfaction, but it was distant, like hearing about something that had happened to someone I used to know. That's not even the worst part, Jake continued. Apparently, while she was out there trying to track this guy down, he used her personal information to open credit cards in her name, cleaned out her bank accounts, stole her identity, the whole thing. She's completely broke. How do you know all this? I asked. She told Sarah everything. She's been staying on Sarah's couch for the past week, crying constantly and begging anyone who'll listen to help her get in touch with you. Sarah was Emma's best friend, someone who'd never particularly liked me, but had always been polite. The fact that Emma was telling her our business meant she was truly desperate. She wants to apologize, Jake continued. Says she made a huge mistake and that she realizes now what she gave up. Good for her, I said, and I meant it. Not sarcastically, but genuinely. I hope she learned something from the experience. That's it. Jake asked. You're not curious? You're not even a little bit tempted to hear what she has to say. Not really, I said, and I realized it was true. The woman who'd called me boring and left me for a stranger on the internet felt like a character from a movie I'd watched once and mostly forgotten. But Emma wasn't giving up. Over the next few weeks, the attempts to reach me became more frequent and more desperate. She showed up at my old workplace, only to find out I'd quit months ago. She called my parents, who politely told her they had no information to share. She even reached out to my sister, who hung up on her. My mother called me after Emma's attempt to reach me through them. She sounded very upset. Mom said, "Are you sure you don't want to at least hear what she has to say?" "I'm sure," I said. "We broke up for good reasons. But if she's really sorry." "Mom, being sorry doesn't undo what someone did. It just means they don't like the consequences." My mother was quiet for a moment. "You sound different," she said. "Stronger." "I feel different," I admitted. "Better." And I did. The life I'd built without Emma was better than the life I'd had with her. I'd gotten a promotion at work, partly because I was no longer distracted by relationship drama. I'd made new friends who actually enjoyed my company instead of tolerating it. I'd started dating again, nothing serious, but I was remembering what it felt like to be with someone who appreciated me instead of constantly finding me lacking. The final attempt came about 6 months after Emma had left. I was at a coffee shop near my new apartment, reading and enjoying my Saturday morning, when I heard a familiar voice. "I've been trying to reach you for months." I looked up to see Emma standing next to my table. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes were wrinkled, and she had dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. She was still beautiful, but it was a desperate, hollow kind of beauty. "I know," I said, closing my book and looking at her calmly. She sat down across from me without being invited. "We need to talk. I made mistakes, but what we had was real. What we had ended when you chose someone else," I said. My voice was steady, matter of fact. "But I chose wrong," she said, and her voice cracked slightly. "Derek wasn't even real. You have to understand. I was confused and stupid, and I thought I wanted something different, but I didn't. I wanted you. I've always wanted you." I studied her face, looking for some trace of the woman I'd once loved. She was still there, but buried under layers of desperation and manipulation that I could now see clearly. "I understand perfectly," I said. "You made your choice based on what you thought you deserved." "I was wrong," she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. I pulled it away. "I was so wrong. I lost everything. My money, my credit, my reputation. I have nothing left." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I meant it. I didn't want her to suffer, but her suffering wasn't my responsibility. "You were the best thing in my life," she continued, tears starting to form in her eyes. "You were stable and kind, and you loved me, and I threw it all away for a fantasy. Please, I'm begging you. Give me another chance. Let me prove that I've learned from this." "Emma," I said gently, "what we had was real. But it's over." "It doesn't have to be," she said, and now the tears were flowing freely. "I know I hurt you. I know I said terrible things. But I was scared of how much I loved you, so I convinced myself you weren't enough. But you were. You are. You're everything I need." I looked at her crying face and felt something I hadn't expected to feel. Pity. Not the kind of pity that leads to reconciliation, but the distant kind you feel for a stranger who's made poor choices. "I'm glad you've learned something from this experience," I said. "But I've learned something too. I've learned that I deserve to be with someone who sees my value from the beginning, not someone who only realizes it after they've lost everything else. But I see it now, she said desperately. I see how good you are, how much you cared about me. I see what an idiot I was to let you go. You didn't let me go, I said. You pushed me away. You told me I was boring and not good enough for you. You chose someone else over me. That's not letting go, that's rejection. She was quiet for a moment, and I could see her trying to find a new angle, a new way to manipulate the situation in her favor. So that's it, she asked, her voice shifting from desperate to angry. You're just going to throw away 3 years? You're going to let your pride ruin what we could have? I'm not throwing anything away, I said calmly. You did. And honestly, Emma, I don't think about those 3 years anymore. They feel like something that happened to someone else. Her face went pale. You can't mean that. I do mean it, I said, standing up and gathering my things. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope you get your life back on track. I hope you learn to value the good things when you have them, instead of always looking for something better. But I hope you find all of that somewhere else. Please, she said, grabbing my arm as I started to walk away. Please don't do this. I love you. I've always loved you. I gently removed her hand from my arm. If you loved me, you wouldn't have left me for someone else. If you loved me, you wouldn't have called me boring and told me I wasn't good enough. If you loved me, you wouldn't have made me feel like I was lucky to be with you instead of the other way around. I was wrong, she whispered. Yes, I said. You were. And now you'll have to live with that. I walked away from that coffee shop and never looked back. I heard through friends that Emma eventually got back on her feet, found a job, and started rebuilding her life. I heard that she dated other men, none of them seriously. I heard that she asked about me from time to time, but less and less frequently as the years went by. I'm married now, to a woman who thinks I'm the most interesting person she's ever met. She tells me she loves my stability, my kindness, my reliability. She tells me she's grateful every day that I chose her. When I tell her she's beautiful, she believes me. When I work extra hours to save for our future, she appreciates it. When I'm tired from work, she makes sure I know I'm still wanted. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd taken Emma back that day in the coffee shop. Maybe we could have made it work. Maybe she really had learned her lesson. Maybe I would have been happy. But then I look at the life I have now, the woman who chose me from the beginning and has never made me feel like I wasn't enough, and I know I made the right choice. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to let them live with the consequences of their actions. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to refuse to be someone's backup plan. Emma taught me that I deserved better than someone who only wanted me when they had no other options. And for that lesson, painful as it was, I'm actually grateful. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button.